Hello everybody, thanks for joining my channel once again. We have a very exciting game in development from the World Cup. We have Sergey Karjakin in a must-win situation versus the upcoming upstart American and the final American left in the World Cup, Shankland. Karjakin had the white pieces. Sam Shankland had the black pieces. Let me first say that Chess Audiobooks is on chess.com. So come see me there. Be my friend. Let's play some 1 minute speed chess and get it in. Also, I'd like to say I'm on Instagram and Twitter. So also feel free to join me on those platforms, and please hit the thumbs up button so that my videos will be seen more on YouTube. So let's get into it. The game started out as a French defense. Now, let's go to the screen here. So e4, e6, d3, and this is a very important game. So Sam Shankland must really believe in this defense for him to choose it. It reminds me of when Peter Lako chose the Karjakin against Vladimir Kramnik in the final game of the World Championship that they played in Brissago in 2004, needing a draw. Peter Lako played the Karjakin with the black pieces and was not able to obtain the draw. Here, Karjakin chooses to avoid main classical lines of the French, such as Eisenhower and McCutcheon and Rubinstein variations, and goes into this King's Indian attack, which has the benefit of leaving a lot of pieces on the board. No pieces aren't going to be traded off early, such as you would see in like your Rubinstein variation. But a lot of tension is going to be maintained on the board. And in these opposite wing attacks, it really depends on who gets their counterplay in first. Like, is Black's queen side attack going to get in before White's attack and assault on the king? Right, the plans are very defined. White is going to attack on the king side. Black is going to concentrate his effort on the queen side. Now, the caveat for Black is this. Although he will be able to concentrate most of his attack on the queen side, he's still going to have to keep an eye open for White's assault on the king side, because after all, it doesn't matter how big Black's advantage is on the queen side, checkmate is going to end the game. And that's the funny thing about these King's Indian attack positions, is sometimes Black can have an overwhelming advantage on the queen side, even sometimes be capturing material over there, extra material, or promoting a queen or something like that, and still end up checkmate, because the king is the ultimate goal in the game. Game continues. A4, A3, just blunting Black's attack on the queen side a little bit. I think this was the idea of Fischer's. C5, castles, knight C6, rook E1, castles, E5. So there's the famous wedge in the position that divides the board, if you will, in half between king side and queen side. And since White has established more space on the king side of the board, he's going to concentrate his forces there. Right, he drives the knight away from the defense of the king side, so it makes Black's king side a little weaker. Knight F1, so already we see the transfer of the knight over to the king side. Usually Black will play, White's plan is to play H4, and then he'll take that knight on F1 and put it on H2, and then that pawn will go to H5, bishop will go to F4, the knight on H2 will go to G4 at some point, and White will attack on the king side. Black, on the other hand, will play B5, B4, try to open up the queen side and penetrate over there. So this usually leads to very double-edged and exciting games. B5 from Shankland, h4, bishop b7, h5, h6. All right, so white gains more space, and also he has a little hook with h6 there, and so black almost always has to be careful of potential sacrifices on the h6 square, and also the plan of white to play g4 and g5, again opening up the king side. Bishop f4, this is all typical because it is important for white to protect that e5 pawn, right? That's his most important pawn in the position. Queen b6, queen d2, rook fc8. And I've highlighted this so that you can see the contrast between the black pieces, most of them on the queen side, and the white pieces, most of which are on the king side. So you can see it very clearly. And also look how I have highlighted black's king. Black's king is a little lonely over there. All right. So black has to be very careful. Okay. So notice black's counterplay is faster on the queen side. He already has his pawns on b5, c5. He's already prepared to make b4 break. However, white still is going to be attacking the king, which is the most important. So white is saying, hey, I'll give you everything you want on the queen side, but I'm going to checkmate you. Okay, so black has to keep an eye out on the king, although he has a nice advantage already on the queen side. g4 to let the games begin. Of course, the plan g5, queen d8. Coming back to, again, you gotta respect the king side attack. All right, so Shankland brings his queen back. All right, a bishop on e7 is a very important piece in these type of positions because although it's passive, it's a good defensive piece to monitor the dark squares. And so, therefore, strategically, it's usually important and good for white to trade off dark square bishops. Knight 1 h2, we spoke about this idea. And now rook a6. The idea here is to play rook b6, b4. Again, expanding on the queen side. It might be a little too slow at this point already. Another idea for black is queen a5. Offering the trade of queens, because remember, black already has his queen side counterplay going already, and it's a little bit faster than white is on the king side. So if he can trade queens, that will go a long way in stifling any attacking plan from white. And of course, white wouldn't trade, so he will do a move, say like queen c1, avoiding the trade, but then black has extra time to continue with this attack on the king side. c4, d4 for white. White would like to keep things locked up in the center. Queen a7, right, putting more pressure on the d pawn. Queen d2 can be played, or even c3. Rook e8, rook a b1, rook a b8. This is just a sample line, knight f1, and you can see after queen b6, c3, white has done a good job in slowing down black on the queen side, even stifling him. And to me, this position in the long run ultimately is going to be favorable for white, because white has stopped the queen side expansion of black. It's going to be hard for black to do anything but play knight a5 and knight b3, whereby white still has the same ideas of g5, open up the king side, etc. So that's just a sample line right there. After queen a5, of course, improvements could be made. So queen a5 is one idea I like. And the other idea I think is even better than queen a5 is just for Shankland to just go b4. Just continue. Right? And let's say knight f1, rook cb8. And let's say c3. Notice after knight a5 how black maintains the tension. Queen c2. Drop the knight in there. Rook a d1. B takes. Saying he opens up the b file so that he can attack. Queen c7, knight e3, c4. And this is a good counterplay from black. Good, chances for both sides here. Black might even be slightly ahead here since he already has an open b file and good attack against white here. White's queen side. So rook a6 was played. So nothing is attacked right away. Black is still kind of maneuvering and planning. But that's just some food for thought that maybe black could have been more aggressive even with queen a5 or b4. King h1. So the idea is very simple, to play rook g1, okay, enforcing the attack on the g file, and then play the move bishop f1, which moves the bishop out of the way, and in some cases white will be able to put the bishop on d3 and help in the attack against the king side, because the white bishop is really not doing anything there. So b4 now, rook g1, knight f8. Again, black is trying to keep an eye on the king side. Right? He doesn't want to get overwhelmed on the queen side, king side. He already has good counterplay going on the queen side, so he's just taking, making some healthy moves to try to prevent, any sack mate situations, so to speak. But even here, another idea is just to take, right? Just start opening up stuff on the queen side, okay? Because it's hard to find that balance between, going for your plans and counterplay, and then making prophylactic moves and stopping the play of your opponent. Because sometimes you could wind up playing passive where you're just trying to stop all the plans of your opponent. Okay, so this is a very difficult position because it's like Shankland is trying to go for his own counterplay, but at the same time he doesn't want to get checkmated. All right, so it's hard to blame him for making a move like knight f8. It's a very natural move. But let's just say he just said, forget that, I'm going to go with my plan, and he played b takes. B takes, and then rook b6. Again, occupying the b file. I have highlighted the rook on c8 is going to go to the b file. Queen on c7, putting more pressure on the e pawn. And let's say, for instance, rook g1, rook b8, knight f1, queen c7, queen c3. The bad bishop comes to a6, and then let's say king g1. A good play for black, right? Just having that open file means a lot, because now black can actually penetrate in the position. It'll be hard for white to concentrate fully on the king side with black penetrating down the b file. So that's a good position for black. Another idea is rook is just to bring this the rook back. Let's say bishop g3 here, queen c7, again building up pressure on the e5 pawn, rook ge1. You see the pressure that black is putting in the center. It will distract white from just being able to go all out on the king side. Okay, that's why they say, they have that old saying in chess, like the best remedy for a flank attack is to attack in the center. That's the idea. Like queen c7, you're putting all this pressure in the center, so white can't really just go all out on the king side. So let's say rook g1, and then again b takes rook a b8, and now similar lines. This is healthy play from black. Okay, so black is making prophylactic moves without necessarily being passive, right? It's like active prophylaxis. Back to the game. Knight f8 was played. Okay, so that's a purely passive move, right? There's no, the b file's not open, anything. It's purely passive. Karjakin plays a takes b4, so he wants to clarify things. He could play g5 here, but it's not so clear. After h takes g5, knight takes g5, b takes a3, and then black has the nice tactic here of knight takes e5. Again, the attack in the center distracting white from the flank attack, right? Because if bishop takes e5, then bishop on e7 will capture the bishop on g5. So let's say rook a b1 attacking this bishop. Bishop goes back. Bishop takes e5. Bishop takes g5, f4, bishop f6. And you can see how it's like double-edged. Knight d7, bishop takes, queen takes, knight g4, queen h4 check. Okay? And if the queens come off, this is good for black. But you can see the double-edged nature of the position. So Karjakin doesn't go for g5 right away. Instead, plays a takes b4, c takes b4, and d4. This fortifies the e5 pawn. All right, so now that tactic's not going to be there with that knight takes e5 that we saw before. All right, this is, so he clarifies the position. Right. At the same time, it helps black a little bit with his counterplay because now the c file is open. But Karjakin is basically saying my play on my side of the board, the king side, is going to be more important than your play. Okay, because in opposite wing attacks is not really about stopping the opponent completely. You're not going to be able to do that. Think of the Sicilian defense when you have opposite side castling. You're not going to stop all the counterplay from black, and white is not going to stop. And black is not going to stop all the play from white on the king side. It's a give and take, but you're gambling that hey, my counterplay is going to be more significant than yours. And this is what Karjakin is saying. Karjakin is saying, hey, you got your play on the queen side, but my attack is going to be more important at the end. So you can see here by the highlights, the plan, bishop to e1, the rook is well placed on g1 then, and white is ready to advance with g5. Shankland plays knight a5. Now, the threat here, the immediate threat is b3. And this shows you how double-edged these positions are. If Shankland could make one more move, he will be practically winning the game. And I'll show you that right now. So let's imagine Shankland gets 2 moves in a row. So knight a5 and then I'll play b3. Now you can see the c pawn is threatened, right? Rook c2 is threatened. So c3. But now Shankland could play a3. What else? B takes a3, and now knight c4, hitting the queen. Let's say queen e2. Can't go c1 because the b2 pawn is going to fork the rook and the queen. So queen e2, rook b6, getting ready for that push. Bishop f1, and b2, rook b1, bishop a6. So you can see the activity of black, right, is tremendous. Bishop a6, rook a8, and there's a lot more analysis that I've done on the game, but I'm just giving you this sample line just to show you how one move makes so much difference in the position. If you gave Shankland that one more move at the a5, you know, he has a fantastic position. Of course, there's moves, improvements for white, but I'm just showing you an example. All right, so knight a5 is not without merit. Some people say, oh, he blundered. No, it's not without merit. It's a difficult position, and I mean, he has a legitimate threat here. It's just that Karjakin is seeing a little bit further here. So my suggestion, instead of knight a5, in hindsight of what happened in the game, of course, is for Shankland to go for it with a3. Let's say bishop f1, a takes b2 is your counterplay, and then rook a1, rook takes, knight h7, important because again, anticipating g5 coming, bishop d3, rook takes, getting rid of some of the white firepower, queen a5, bishop takes h6, very strong, bishop a6, more trades coming, and that's one line. So a3, bishop f1. Okay, and that's a little better than what happened in the game. Another idea after a3, instead of bishop f1, is b3, right? Just trying to clog up things, because white would love to clog black up and then go along with the king side attack. Again, knight h7, trying to slow things down a bit. Rook g1, rook goes back, king g1, a2, queen e3, knight b8, queen e2, queen c7, rook c1, and queen c3. Again, nice, healthy counterplay, right? This position double edge. Maybe black might be a little better, but in these type of positions, the valuations can change quickly. All right. So, but I'm just giving you an idea of what the counterplay looks like with these alternate moves. So like a3 is probably a little better, but I can't blame Sam for knight a5. It looks good. Karjakin g5, just moving on. Knight c4, and here knight c4 not effective because the queen has a good square to go to. All right, queen c1, and now b3 is effective because the rook is blocked on c8 by the knight on c4. H takes g5, bishop takes g5, and now b3. Remember, with the rook being blocked by the knight on c4, that threat of rook takes c2 is non-existent, so it's not as effective now, the move b3. So Karjakin can continue on with this plan. Instead of b3 here, Shankland maybe should have tried to just trade off some material with bishop takes g5. Him being more in control of the exchange here. Knight takes g5, for instance, and then a3 with the threat of a takes b2, forking the rook and queen. So b takes, rook takes, more trades, offering more trades, that is. Rook b1, queen e7, protecting the pawn, h6, and then knight g6. Nice move to put the knight in front of the g pawn. All right. So that's so bishop takes g5 followed by a3. I think it's a good idea. Another interesting idea is f6, which is very risky. You guys can analyze that on your own. That's a complicated line too. But a3 seems good, for black to hold on. Bishop takes g5. So after bishop g5, b3, and now Karjakin makes the exchange. And like I said earlier, usually this is strategically beneficial for white to exchange the defensive piece. Bishop takes e7. It facilitates his attacking chances. Queen takes e7. And now just bishop f1. a3 is played by Shankland here. Again, there's a threat here, but the tactics just don't work out for him. So the best for him here is f5, where white still has an advantage. Right? E takes, queen takes, and then h6, g6, c takes, a takes, and this is like pretty much forced continuation. But this is better for white. White can even go into an ending here. Queen takes. He has a superior position here, and then he starts to rack up material. So here a3 was played, and again it looks very intimidating. All right, let me mention too. Notice that white, actually black gets his counterplay in first on his side of the board. Right, look at the pawns. He gets his queen side counterplay in first, but the king on the other side of the board is what's most important. And that's the fact that he doesn't have an honest answer to queen h6. Is the problem, the main problem here. And so after a3, just this tactic of rook takes g7. You know, this is common themes. I mean, you actually see this, you know, with the seconds. I mean, I saw it right away. King takes and knight g4. Some of you might, you know, that really don't play King's Indian attack might have been wondering, why is that knight sitting there on g2? That's why. Eventually it comes to g4. And now you can see how powerful it is and how it assists the queen in coming to h6. Also controls the f6 square. And you can see with the dark square bishop gone, you can see how much of a deficit that is to black, right? He can't really control his dark squares, all right? And this is why it's so strategically important to get rid of the dark square bishops in such positions. And you'll see in other variations of the French the same way. You know, for instance, in the Vinauer, the bishop gets traded off, you know, the dark square bishop, because strategically it's better for white. And you can see this right here. There's no way to protect the dark squares. Now he does f5, but it's a little bit too late. He takes f6. And of course the queen, you know, the queen is gone. He had to do this because there's no way to protect against queen h6. And Shankland is lost, but he decides to be a good sport here. And it's almost a way of complimenting your opponent for playing a really good game when you actually let him mate you. Knight g6 has to be played. And now queen takes h6, of course. Queen takes g6 is threatened, of course. Shankland promotes. Queen takes g6 check. Of course not. Knight takes h5 because queen will go to g7, checking. So queen takes g6, king e7, queen g7, king d6, and queen d7. And that's checkmate. So the empire strikes back. Sergey Karjakin making a statement in this game after losing you know, in Karpovian style in the first game. He comes back and ties it up. So these guys will be going into the tie breaks tomorrow. I want to thank both of these players for playing, you know, such a rich and exciting game. I mean, these King's Indian attack games, you know, something else. I remember the first one I really looked at was Bobby Fischer game. That he played. He used this A3, I think it was A3 idea. Brilliant game from the white side. But yeah, when you have opposite wing attacks, that's what it is. It's really more about who gets the initiative, right? Pawns, pieces sometimes don't even matter. As you Sicilian players know, it's really about who has the initiative, you know. And you got to see that you know, full display here. And you got to see too that the king is most important. You know, you can have all the material, the other material you want, extra pawns, extra rook, extra piece, or whatever, but the king is checkmated. That's all that matters. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Please hit that thumbs up button so that we can get our videos seen by more people on YouTube. And also hit that thumbs up. That's very important too, because that's what really moves the videos along, is that thumbs up button. I also like to just say is check the links below, the donation link there. Please support my channel. That would be greatly appreciated. Also, there's books and DVDs down there for you old school players that still like books. I always try to put books or DVDs based on whatever opening that was discussed today over the board. So in this case, we talked about the French defense. So all the DVD links and book links will be related. You know, different Grandmaster books on those particular openings. And like I said, I hope to see you guys soon on the next video.